待たせいたしました。続いてのタイトルは、Take This Interview AFK プログラムとなっております。つまりゲームではなくて、今回のイベントの、寄付先、支援先にあたる Take This のインタビューコーナーになっております。Take This とは何ぞや、まずこのイベントの概要を説明しようかなと思います。現在、ジャパニーズリストリームでは、RTA イベント、スピードランラグナロク2024の様子を公認で日本語ミラー配信しています。スピードランラグナロク2024は、The RPG ワルキリーズの Twitch チャンネルで行われる Take This を支援するオンラインチャリティ RTA イベントです。The RPG ワルキリーズは、RPG やスピードランニングが大好きな女性や女性寄りのランナーなどで集まったグループで、自分たちのスキルやゲームへの愛をアピールするために作られました。JRPG ワロキリーズのチャンネルでは、年間通して複数のイベントが配信されています。今回のイベントの寄付先である Take This は、ゲームコミュニティにおけるメンタルヘルスに関する意識向上教育奉仕活動を目的とした非営利の慈善団体です。特定のゲームには寄付と関連して高難易度への変更やエンディングの選択等が予定されており、各項目内に設定された目標寄付金額を達成した際に行われます。また、寄付金額を表に見立てたビット王によってキャラクター名や選択肢などが決定されることもあります。寄付額に対する報酬は URL からご確認いただけます。URL こちらとなっております。イベントは、10月の20日まで少しの休みを挟みつつ配信しますので、スケジュールをご覧ので、ぜひ最後まで、ぜひ健康的にね、お楽しみいただければと思います。はい。そういうわけで、JRPG ワルキリーズスピードランナー2024、テイクディスの概要の説明でございました。AFK プログラムってなんだ？
Thank you for continuing to watch Speedrun Ragnarok 2024 with the RPG Valkyries here to benefit the Take This organization. That's going to do it for me for today. I have been Code Indigo. We have that interview with the Take This folks regarding the AFK rooms, and Demarine is going to be covering you for the rest, or for the next few games of the music box. So, thank you so much for having me. I will be back with you bright and early tomorrow, and I look forward to lots of games, lots of fun, and lots of donations here for a good cause. So, thank you very much. Stick around. We will be right back.
I'm losing my mind over here. Okay.
Oh, do we have hot mics?
I hope we don't. I mean, if we do, we do. We are hot mic'd. Hi, everybody.
Yep.
We are-
Hi!
We're still setting up.
It's the mysterious voices from beyond.
All the Valkyries know what I sound like. They all know me. I can't escape.
It means I can't get all my swear.
はい、インタビュー開始前となりますが、ここで司会進行の方は交代させていただこうと思います。ここまでの司会進行は平良木が担当いたしました。引き続きイベントをお楽しみください。ありがとうございました。
はい、というわけで、ここからは司会進行変わりまして、会場が担当させていただきます。続いてのプログラムは、パティとクイズ、インタビューで AFK プログラムということで、あれですね。本団体、本イベントの支援先であるテイクディスの方の、インタビューとなっております。先ほど一瞬音声入ってたんですよ。多分画面切り替えが行われなかったので、ち ちょっともう一回要調整というところで多分やってるんだと思いますので、ちょっとしばらくお待ちくださいという形かなと思います。ちなみに AFK って何ってなると思うんですけど、アウェイフロムキーボードの略だと思います。つまりキーボードから離れてということみたいですね。多分、あれですね。インターバルだよみたいな意味も含めての表現かなという気はしますね。はい、というわけで画面の方来まし
Are we
た。
back? We're back.
Yay! The mysterious voices are back. What's
We're-
up?
We're back. I, of course, am Demarine of the RPG Valkyries. We
はい
are still
Chrome を使用している方は、ブラウザーの右上のところにある、3本線と音符のマークのところを使用するとリアルタイム翻訳が行えますので、インタビュー内容をね、気になる
How many
よと
ways
か、
OBS has run?
英語苦手だよという方は、 そちらを
abridged.
使ってみるといいと思います。
Abridged.
Chrome
We do
限
not
定
have
で
all
す。
day. We do have a speedrun. Cubs was setting us up, and he has already talked about how many different ways that OBS has wronged him in the last hour. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, personally, just to kind of maybe get us into talking about the AFK rooms. I know myself personally, I was at PAX East this year, back in March, because Leggy was doing a run and I was there as commentary / mortal support. Oh god, that place on a Thursday, the first day of the show, that place was already wall to wall at like noon.
Mobbed, absolutely mobbed.
Right, like the AFK room was like tucked away on the 3rd floor of the Boston Convention Center. And I know that we had to go in there, the two of us, we went in there to hide. Because like we were walking around the floor looking at games, after a run, we grabbed lunch before, did our run, and then after the run we were just like, we wanted to wander around a little bit more, but it was a lot.
That was actually my introduction to the AFK room. So the AFK program started in 2014 at PAX East.
Yep.
And coincidentally enough, that was my first ever PAX. A friend of mine was a photographer and needed help because he was working on this project and needed help getting models, filling out forms. And he was like, Liz, I will buy you a badge if you will come to the convention and help me out. And I was like, yeah, like no problem. I'm local to the Boston area. And so I went on my break and I went down to the expo floor. And after about 30 minutes, I was so overwhelmed. I was like, it's too loud. There's too many lights. It's so overwhelming. Like, get me out of here. And I was wandering around and I saw a sign for AFK room. And I'm like, I'm old. I know what AFK means. Let me go check this out. And I did. I went and I sat in the AFK room for a good half hour, coloring, just finding that zen again. And then come to find out years later, like I was at the very first AFK room, and now it is the program that I run. So
yeah, I know my personal introduction to the AFK rooms would have been at MagFest 2018. MagFest is loud. MagFest is, surprisingly big for what it is, and surprisingly compressed for the convention center in National Harbor being as big as it is. And so like every year after that, like when I would go to Mag, that would be one of the things I would scout at, is where is the AFK room, because just in case if the arcade is just too much, if it's too overstimulating, if it's a lot, then it was always a good place to end up, because you could take 10 minutes, right, just quietly, go grab a bottle of water, get a nice quiet sit in, take a minute to just sort of get away from the door a little bit, because the sound leaks through the door a little bit there. But I think it takes a lot more work, right? It's not just the simplest thing to have a room, right? Like there's so much more to it, I am sure.
So there is, and there's a lot about the AFK program that goes unsaid, because we always refer to it as the AFK program because it is so much more than just the room. In terms of what we actually physically do at the convention, obviously we have the room, we have the Hope booth, which is our outreach table. And what I think a lot of folks don't really know is at PAX, we actually train all of the enforcers. Yes. So all of the enforcers are given a sort of mental health 101 / self-care talk the night before the convention. That's usually run by Dr. B or Dr. Dunlap. So there's that aspect as well. And we have very much seen that training and what these enforcers have learned, like in person. There was an issue at PAX Unplugged the other year where an attendee, it was their first convention, they were feeling very overwhelmed. And when they close the floor, and those security guards come and they force you out. And this attendee had lost their group. And they had a security person yelling at their face, and they just started getting so overwhelmed. And one of the enforcers stepped in and just intervened, walked them down to the AFK room, and sat with them, talked to them, did everything that we would have wanted out of one of our own volunteers, and then made sure the attendee was still feeling a little iffy, and this enforcer escorted them out and was like, let me just walk you out of the convention. And all of that was, we do this little training with them every year, and we teach them about what are the signs to look for. How can you talk to someone who looks like they may be in crisis, and how can you support attendees in general? But also, how can you take care of yourselves? Because anyone who has volunteered at a convention, works at a convention, knows it is long hours. Convention food, not necessarily the most nutritious. You're in a hotel room, maybe with 4 of your closest friends. And it's hard to remember to do basic things like eat a vegetable, have some water, take a nap. And it's really important that as a convention community that, we look out for each other and we take care of each other, so that we can enjoy the entire event. But like I said, we've got the AFK room, which we like to call the most boring room in the convention because it's by design. It is a sensory neutral room, with trained staff. All of our volunteers go through a training. Our coordinators are always licensed clinicians. So if there is ever a need to escalate for some reason, there's always someone licensed who is there. And we've worked really hard the past year to also build in supports for our own staff. One thing that we've changed is now not only do we have our volunteers and a coordinator, but we have a staff person on site whose only job is to make sure that our volunteers and our coordinators are getting the support that they need. Because who helps the one who's helping everyone else?
Yeah.
It's all about that sort of continuous feedback of how can we all help and support each other.
Yeah, especially because I
So,
know from my own history in customer service and in supporting groups and everything, who supports the support is always a big thing because like I know from a lot of experiences with a lot of different people is that people who like doing support will push themselves so far to make sure that things go forward correctly. And it is a difficult thing to understand when it's time to say, all right, I gotta stop because everybody's got that mentality of I'm the only one who can do it. And I know with the AFK rooms, there's always a couple of people in those rooms. You always see that there's never one volunteer at a time. There's always a couple of people there. There's always somebody at the door to just sort of check your temperature when you get in there, right? There's somebody there who's doing upkeep on the room, making sure that things are orderly. And so I know that there's an absolute ton of effort that goes into making sure that your support staff too is running at peak performance because
and it's making sure that our people get to set their boundaries as well.
Yeah.
Because they're long, grueling hours, and everyone wants to do so much. The amount of times I've had volunteers say, "No, just put me on shifts every day," and I'm like, I love you, but no, I'm going to set this boundary for you because I want you to still go out there and enjoy this convention. And I don't want you to burn yourself out, because like one of the biggest things we talk about after every convention is con crash.
Yeah.
Conventions are so exciting. Your blood is pumping. You're with your friends. You're seeing all these amazing things. You're surrounded 24/7, and you get back home and you're alone. And folks, especially, your first few conventions, you don't realize what an impact that can have on you. We try to make sure, we've got our Discord, we've got a section for our volunteers. We always try to make sure that for the week after a convention, we're keeping tabs on everyone. We let our volunteers know that we are there to support them because even for ourselves, we take time off after a convention just because it's so much work and it's so overwhelming. But like, sometimes coming home from a convention is like, pardon my French, like it sucks. Like you were with
Mhm.
your friends, you were having so much fun. I gotta go back to my boring like 9 to 5. I
Yeah.
can't like hang out in a hotel playing games until 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, how mundane, you
Yeah.
know?
Like, I know for the speedrunning community, like when the speedrunning events get together, it's nice because, we've got the Valkyries and we're all sort of, checking in on each other. And we, I generally don't go to conventions by myself anymore. I'm not 20 anymore. I remember my first convention. I can tell you it was Anime Next in Secaucus, New Jersey, when they were still in Secaucus back in
Ooh.
2001? It might have been 2001. But yeah. And like,
Mm.
you like when you were young, you could just go alone, try to make friends,
Mhm.
and even then it was just like when it was all over, it was still
Yeah,
now.
my first convention, oh gosh. I was 16, so it was like
Mhm.
3 Jurassic ages ago. It was the Greater Boston Sci-Fi Anime and Comic Book Show, and I volunteered. Like
Oh,
I've been volunteering for conventions since I was 16, and it was like everything that could ever go wrong.
of course, because
Um, it's,
uh,
and
mhm.
I didn't know better. I was 16 years old. There was a security guard who was infatuated with me to the point where I had to get like escorted out of the convention center every day. And I didn't realize like that's bad behavior. Like that is
Yeah,
not something a volunteer should put up with. I also remember I have this vivid memory of eating a cold hamburger because I was running a a theater
right.
showing anime.
Hmm.
And we were right by the autograph line. And the lovely gentleman who played Darth Maul had his thing set up. And I wandered over with my hamburger to be like, I wonder how much it is to get an autograph from Darth Maul. And it was $20. And right in his face, I was like, that's way too much money. And I just walked away. So, I just started off hot.
Yeah, you
I
start
just
off
kept it going.
just running. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
liked, I'm a Boston gal through and through. I there's a lot of work that goes into censoring and filtering. I have been, we have take this staff meetings, we talk about everything that's going on, and every now and then it's, hey Liz, your Boston is showing. And I'm like, what do you mean we can't sue everyone? Like, let's go.
Yeah. No, I got lucky because I grew up in New York City, but no one would ever know it unless I tell them.
No.
Unlike my mom or my sister, who, even though they've lived in Florida for many years of their lives, the both of them, like you just know. The only way the only
Get me in
yeah.
a car. Ooh.
Mhm. The only way
Ooh.
you get it from me, the only way that you get it from me is I can talk about 3 times as fast as anybody I know, which is a thing. My
Nice.
worst, I think my worst convention story would have been Otakon 2012. Um, Mostly because it was the first convention I did post transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was not used to navigating a con space as a woman, or at least being
Ooh,
perceived
my
as
friend.
such.
My
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah, I mean that was 12 years ago now, and I've learned a lot. Um I definitely was leaning over a railing in a short skirt. Do not recommend doing that, everybody. Please don't do that to yourself. I was definitely getting old, and not in completely unpleasantly. I definitely had a guy come up to hit on me, and he's like, I am not sure if you're a boy or a girl, but I want to hit on you. And I am just like, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, but thanks.
I don't know how flattered I should be. Also, you're
Yep,
not gonna
yep.
get also we're not sleeping together like ever, so just go away.
I remember I was volunteering for Anime Boston.
Yeah.
And so in my day job, I'm a high school teacher. I teach high school French. And I was doing my student teaching, and 2 of my students were at Anime Boston in schoolgirl uniforms. And they were like, Miss Fab, like walk around the convention with us. Every single time someone stopped them to ask for a photo, I was like, you can take their photo, you cannot be in the photo. Like, you must show me the photo.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many ways I can tell you they're underage, but they're underage, okay? They're underage. No touching. Like, please do the Keanu. Is it Keanu Reeves who in all of his photos you can see the hands?
Yeah, you can see both hands.
Like,
yeah.
I was like, please, like, hands up in the air where I can see them at all times because I'm legally responsible for these children. You want to see trouble? I will show you trouble if you come near my students. So
I bet. It's just
conventions can be absolutely wild, which is why having a place like the AFK room.
horrible stories. AFK room.
Horrible stories. AFK room. Ding. Dimple.
But yeah, no, like I suspect that many people actually do have stories of negative experiences in conventions, right? And having good staff, like I mean, PAX being trained by the Take This org is unsurprising. Having dealt with them a little bit, right, is just that they're just they feel very much eternally calm in those difficult situations, which is sometimes the greatest thing.
And it's something that I think keeps everyone coming back. Like knowing that you are going to go to a convention where you are going to have that support. We get comments all the time of people just mentioning like, I was at PAX this year in the AFK room. It was so helpful. We've been going through this fundraising drive and we've been getting so many comments about, I couldn't have made it through the convention if the AFK room wasn't there. Me personally, I used the AFK room so many times in my time as an attendee at conventions. I have friends that have used it. As I sort of moved my way up the ranks at Take This, the stories I got to hear from people about how, the AFK room and messages they'd taken and lessons they'd learned from Take This just brought them so much joy and meaning. And I'm a high school teacher. I teach high school French. My students, they are not going to become French professors. And for me, the work I do with Take This and with the AFK room, it just brings so much meaning, to know that something that I am working on is helping so many people, even in just tiny little ways.
Yeah.
More than anything, that's why I do what I do. And why I'm not gonna lie, I was a little pushy with Take This. I had a 5-year plan.
Okay, you have a
to
5-year
get
plan.
myself, I had a 5-year plan to get myself on the staff.
Okay.
I started off as a volunteer. My very first time volunteering at Take This. We may be familiar with this time period. It was March 2020.
Nothing of import happened
Nothing
in March
important
2020.
happened in March 2020.
Nothing. There was no big piece of American history that occurred in March of 2020.
And so I volunteered. I've got a confession. I volunteered in the AFK room and I hated it. I am not a quiet person. I don't do well just sitting. And I was like, this is fun, but so the world shut down. And then I get this email, and Take This is like, hey, we're thinking of opening a Discord. We're looking for moderators. I was like, I'm a teacher. I'm good at telling people to follow the rules. So I started off moderating in the Discord, not realizing that, I'm a single income, no kids. I live by myself. And living by yourself in the middle of a pandemic was so isolating. But all of a sudden, like I had this built-in family in this Discord. And so I was moderating on the Discord, and when PAX started back up, someone made a comment about PAX Unplugged, and I was like, it's only like 6 hours away. I can do that.
Yeah.
I volunteered at PAX Unplugged at the Hope booth, And I was like, this is my jam. I get to talk to people, I get to spread the good word. And I just sort of threw myself at Take This. Anytime anything came up, I volunteered. One summer, I was like, hey guys, I'm free. Do you need an intern? Which got me co-hosting Take This Plays with Dr. Dunlap and Dr. Hayes. And then eventually they were like, well, our AFK person is moving on to other projects. And I was like, okay, sign me up. I remember at the beginning of 2023, I got a message from one of her moderators, and she's like, Liz, this is your year. Like, I can sense it. This is your year. And sure enough, May 2023, I sat on a Discord call with Kelly and Sarah as I signed my contract and just like cried because I was so happy because like this is an organization that I love, and like now I really get to do the nitty-gritty work. So
yeah, that's a lot of work, but I'm glad that it is very rewarding work. It sounds like you really enjoy it.
It is a lot of work. It's work I love doing because I get to make so many spreadsheets.
So many
There
spreadsheets.
is definitely, I am definitely well known for any time someone starts talking about like, we should do this, we should do that. And I'm like, I've got a spreadsheet for that. Like, don't you worry. Been there, done that. Yes, it is an amazing mug. It was a birthday present from one of our fellow Discord mods. I can't bring it to school, unfortunately, so it lives here.
That would not fly.
No, that would not fly.
No, you'd have to have talks about that one. Maybe don't let everybody know about that one.
No, there are certain. I work really hard to separate like school Liz from Take This Liz, mostly because my students haven't figured out that they can just Google Liz Favorito,
and they would find
and it
you?
would pop up. They always Google like Miss Favorita.
Like, and there's hundreds of Miss Favoritos out there.
There's a few, but
Dozens
I've warned my principal. We had to have the social media talk one day about someday. Well, we went through a bit of a rough patch in March, with this little thing you may have heard of called Gamergate 2.0.
Yep.
And I have a very unique last name. And so when everything was going on, I was advised, like, you got to tell your work in case someone decides to email them. And I love my principal dearly. He's a lovely human being. But I don't know if you've ever had to explain the internet to someone who doesn't internet.
No, I really haven't had to do that, thankfully.
I also had the joy once of explaining to my vice principal what a furry is. He was a middle-aged Italian former prison guard.
You are more powerful than most people I've ever met, clearly.
Because I had a student, she had made her own fursuit. It was absolutely amazing, like so talented. And there was that one kid in the corner who was making comments that I had to write up, but explaining why I had to write him up to this man who had no idea what was going on. Wasn't on my bucket list.
But you did it.
But I did it. I did what I had to do. So I don't know if his life is better for it, but I like to think that it is. You know, the more you know.
Right. Right. Or as my old boss at one of my old jobs would say, when she told me something I really did not want to hear, she just would stop and go, "But Jen, I can't know it alone." And I'm just like, you did not need to tell me what you just told me. I'm not going to recount. I am not going to recount any of those stories right now because I will get in trouble. Just terrible.
This is the family-friendly interview.
This is the family-friendly interview. Yes. Right. Right. I mean, also, I know you mentioned Take This Plays, and I know we did the impromptu Take This Plays on Sunday. What's your comfort game? Like, what's like, the one game that you come back to, right? It's Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m., and you don't know what to do with your life right now.
Well, okay, so am I by myself or am I with my friends? Because that has a huge impact on it.
Let's start with by myself.
So by myself, my current cozy game is The Witch of Fern Island.
Okay. What's it all about?
So it's like a life sim. You're
Okay.
an apprentice witch. You've crashed on an island and you have to befriend the villagers. You have to run your farm and collect ingredients for potions, all while learning about your history because there are gaps in your memory. I tried, I was doing Disney Dreamlight Valley. I was playing Palia, and they got a little repetitive. So I was like, it's autumn. I need to play a witchy themed game. And Reddit came to the rescue and recommended this game. So that's my go-to cozy right now is The Witch of Fern Island.
Nice.
If I'm with friends, however.
Yeah.
My cozy games are not cozy. So my two go-tos are Fortnite and
Right.
Phasmophobia. Fortnite, something as a teacher, I never thought I would admit. I have vivid memories of banning the word Fortnite from my classroom. Because it was Renegade. They all did this Renegade dance. And I'd be in the middle of like, all right, kids, when we're talking in the present tense, the first person singular, Renegade, Renegade, they would just get up in the back of the room and start dancing. So after many years of banning the word Fortnite from my classroom, like, oh shucks, guess what I play all the time?
Don't worry, the kids will never know. It's fine.
They will never know.
They will never find out.
Except that
it's
I
fine.
tell them all the time.
They don't believe you. The good news is they don't believe you, probably.
They don't.
See?
And then Phasmo, and mostly because for me, a lot of what makes gaming cozy is the people I get to spend the time with. There are a lot of games I started playing just because my game group was playing them. I've got 200 something hours in Monster Hunter World.
Oh, that's it?
And I almost
you're
I know,
like
it's
tiny
it's
baby.
not it's not a lot. I'm a baby. I am a baby.
200, come on. You can do better than that.
I know. And it's because I only wanted to play with my friends. Like I would see that my friends were on playing. Same thing, Elden Ring. I've heard rumors that Elden Ring has a plot. I have no idea what that plot is. And I know that's a hot take.
Yeah.
And you could like come at me, chat. But my friends love Elden Ring so much. They have played it 5, 6, 7 times. And they were like, Liz, just we will backpack you through the entire game. Just come play with us. Because for me, like it's time I get to spend with my friends.
Yeah.
Helldivers, love me some Helldivers. I end up accidentally murdering my team because friendly fire is
Because friendly fire is the thing in Helldivers.
Yeah. But I'm really good at recalling them and sending in the order to get them sent.
Yeah.
And so for both games, Fortnite and Phasmophobia, Dr. Sarah Hayes introduced me to them and got me hooked on them. So now whenever we're free, we're like, you got a little time for some ghost hunting, eh? So that's sort of that's where it's at. I've got a little sign outside my classroom door that says like what game I'm playing at the moment. And the amount of students who've come up to me to be like, oh my God, Miss Fab, have you done this week's challenge mode? What did you think? It's a good conversation starter.
It is.
And it's good to be able to talk to the kids about what kinds of games I play. Because they don't there's a lot of folks who have a very negative view on games and gaming. And I think for them to see that there is an adult in their life that
maybe,
who enjoys games and not always serious games. I think that's really important.
There's a really interesting conversation to be had nowadays on this being kind of like getting into like this being the late second, early third generation of families with games, and
Yes.
like the idea of that the people who are my age, and everyone knows how old I am, I can talk about it. Right, people who are my age who have kids, I don't, but one of my partners does, and so on and so forth. But like the idea that we are the gamers now raising the children at this point in time and attempting to really get them into games as well, or not get them into games, or at least get them to explore the things that we like, but maybe not be overbearing about it because our kids love different things. Are you ready to talk about Monster Hunter for a few minutes?
Yes, please.
Monster Hunter is the game. Monster Hunter Wilds comes out next year, and I think it's the game that I'm
Yes.
really, really excited for in particular, because Monster Hunter is the game that brings together all my friend group every time it comes out. I have a friend group, a group of very old friends that I've known from like the mid 2000s. Like I've known like my friend Jay, who I've known for 2 decades now. Right, we've been close for 20 years, and we have sort of we drift in and out as time goes on, but the heavens knows we're doing this, right? Monster Hunter has been a thing for 20 years. We have cursed over this game, we have yelled at each other, we have played every single one of them from Freedom Unite onward. I drove through a tempest in Annandale, Virginia, because Jay is like, hey, GameStop canceled all of their pre-orders for the Monster Hunter 4U limited edition Game Boy DSXL. I still have it on my shelf over there. I still have it on there. It's got my 4U save, which has 450 hours on it right now. A lot of it was solo. I soloed that game up until the end of G3. I played a lot of Monster Hunter. Even after everyone else dropped off of it, I was still playing it.
I once brought my PlayStation on vacation with me. So
oh,
a friend
nice.
so a friend and I,
Yep.
we live far away. We met in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
To binge watch The Haunting of Hill House. So like we got a B&B, we did all of this, and I was like, this is great, but there's an ancient Leshy event going on, and my squad has a date at 8 o'clock tonight. So
Yep.
we can watch until 8 o'clock. Then I need to go destroy this Leshy. Like
Nice. Yeah, but my partners, I'm going to be dragging my partners along because like one of them is a longtime Monster Hunter person. One of them got into it with Rise, right? And one of them is kind of in between. And then we've got other very close friends who did like the world and did the world and Rise thing, and so like
so what's your main?
Depends on the game. I try to switch it up every time. I started as a Great Sworder in Freedom Unite. I moved to Lance. I played on 3U. I did Sword and Board. Generation or 4U was a mix of Sword and Board and Hammer. Generations was primarily Sword and Board and Charge Blade. I think that was when Charge Blade came out. Would have been 4U. And then World was my second playthrough of World was Dual Blades. My first one was Bow.
Okay.
And then in Rise it was Insect Glaive, which was a very good choice. 10 out of 10. If you're new to Monster Hunter, do recommend play Insect Glaive. You will have a good time. You will fly around like your life depended upon it, because honestly it kind of does. But you'll have an absolute blast doing it. And so I'm gonna kind of decide. The only thing that I really bounce off of are bow guns. So I gotta I'm looking forward to making the decision again every time.
Yes. I'm a one-trick pony.
Okay.
So my main is and will always be Sword and Board.
Yeah,
Sword and Shield every single
heck
time.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
So, I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my support build.
Yep.
So that I can be that kid.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the issue I had. I did not like Rise.
That's fair.
I was not a big fan, and a lot of it comes back to, I was playing Monster Hunter World to hang out with my friends, which was so easy to do on PlayStation. But Nintendo doesn't have that built-in speech capability.
Yeah.
And it got really awkward trying to figure out, like, okay, like we'll have a Discord channel that's set up that's just for Monster Hunter, but people used it for other things. And I think I only made it like 40 or 50 hours in before I gave up.
Yeah.
So
I mean, from a gameplay standpoint, Wilds is supposed to be a little bit more world than Rise, which will be nice for people who enjoyed that little bit more, deliberate gameplay. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed Rise. I really enjoyed Rise. I really enjoyed just throwing myself at the environments and just zipping around.
No, I was there to slaughter monsters. So when I first started playing, my mom lived with me, and she would be like, "Are you playing that game where you murder those poor creatures?" I'd be like, "Ma, I'm 35 years old. Stop bugging me about it." Yeah.
The dragon is 35 feet long. It is not small and it is not cute.
Yeah. Did you hear what he said about my friends, Ma? Like, come on.
It's hard to see, but there's a plushie shelf up here behind me, and on there is a Jan Kutku plush and a Rathian plush.
I've got my favorite purchase ever, probably. It's my Monster Hunter pins from Fangamer. Because it's the 3 best boys. Like, hearts for Dodo.
His head is so empty, though. He had no thoughts, head empty, only eat.
Dodo is the orange cat of the Monster Hunter world.
He really is.
Really what it is. And that's why we love him.
He's so good. He's so huggable.
Best boy just wants to do his own thing, and then Rathalos comes along and is like Okay, so here's my question for you.
Yep.
How do you feel about the handler in World?
How do I feel about the handler in World?
Mm-hmm. Because if I could have sacrificed her to the monster, I would have every single time.
She's like right on that edge, right? Like, because like I've dealt with the rotating cast of generations and the rotating cast of returning guild guild quest givers and everything. The handler is not like if we think about annoying voiceover sidekicks in video games, where you get Navi from from Oot and Majora's Mask, and then you go down a little bit, you've got and all the way at the bottom of the list in terms of the best voices is the disembodied voice in Bastion, right, he's the best, right, hands down, right, and the handler is way nearer to the top of that scale than the bottom of that scale for sure. She could definitely it's been 200 hours, girl, you can lay off now. It's cool.
You can chill.
Right. We took down Zora Magdaros 19 times. I know what's up. You can relax now and give me the stage. Just let me play the game. You do not need to tell me that the herbs are over there. I know they are. I've memorized all the maps because that's what I do.
If you could just stop running out and getting yourself in trouble, because save yourself, princess. This is a woman's world.
I'm fine. I know what Tobi Kadachi footprints look like. I promise.
So yeah, I'm team serious handler. She's bae.
Yeah, so. That's legit. I can get behind that for sure. Yeah.
Listen, guys, this is really hot takes. If you're a Monster Hunter fan, these are.
I don't know how hot these takes are, honestly.
Well,
right?
no, that's true, but
that's true.
Still, it's the thing people like to debate.
They do like to argue about it for some reason, that people are allowed to have their opinions, and those opinions I cannot say by their opinions. I cannot say they're wrong, but
that's all I'm going to say on that one.
Yeah. See, the best thing is that people will make fun of me for this, but my single player comfort game has been for the last year and a half, logging onto League of Legends and playing all random, all middle. Just playing ARAM on League of Legends has been my thing for just I need 25 minutes to myself. What do I do with that 25 minutes? That has been my go-to.
I mean, there's something, and that's one of the things I loved about World is a quest was 30 minutes. You could hop on. I could work out all of my aggression in a healthy manner.
I could complain about the drop rate, not get my Rathalos Ruby yet again, and then be really annoyed at the game, and then move on with my life.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it was just fun. It's one of the only multiplayer games that I will actually go and play by myself. Because it was one of the first times I felt accomplished. Because I always joke if I were to make my own Twitch page and become a streamer, my streamer handle would be Wicked Bad Gamer. Because I'm so bad at games, but I love playing them.
Yeah.
And Monster Hunter World was the first time where I felt like I can go in and help the little guy. Like I can answer all these SOS flares and not make a complete fool out of myself.
Yeah.
So it's fond memories. Rock Band is a great game, but I have grievances. And my grievances are 10 because I have teeny tiny fingers. And I love Rock Band.
Doing any better
love Guitar Hero. But I can't reach the 5th key no matter what I do. And my other problem is I have hypermobility, so if I try too hard, I will dislocate my finger. So I love Guitar Hero, I love Rock Band, but I can never play on anything higher than medium because I can't reach that last stinking key. So it's also why I will never own an Xbox, because if those of you who remember the OG Xbox controllers,
it's roughly the size of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having to play with it in my lap because my hands weren't big enough. I have held that grudge for I don't know how many years.
Look, for everyone who makes fun of Sony for not innovating with their controllers, like, let's be real for a minute here. Like, the DualShock line of controllers is just superior to, like, anything I've really ever used. They hit it out of the park every generation.
Yes.
And they fit
Small,
my tiny
simple.
hands.
Yes,
Yeah.
they fit my tiny hands. And if you throw them out a window, they're less likely to break.
I don't throw controllers.
Neither. I mean, I don't either, but I imagine I have a lot of students who do.
Do you now? That's unfortunate. They'll work on. They'll get better. It takes time. They're young. They're young.
They will. They get really mad when you just look at them and say, "Well, get good," because that's their response for everything. They're like, "Oh, Miss Fab, just get good."
Leggy does that to me. She will do that to me because we play Teamfight Tactics together, right? The other Riot offshoot auto chess, and like things don't go right in a game. She's like, she plays a lot more than I do. Like I don't have the focus to really sit down and like grind rank in that. Like I'm in Plat 4 and she's in like Emerald 4, and so she will just look at me and go, all you need to do is just get good, and then I'll be like, like love, if I played as many games as you did, I'd be in Diamond. I just can't. I have focus issues. And she is
I think there is one moment where I'm like, I know my students play a lot of games, but maybe they're playing, and I never thought I would say this, maybe they're playing too many. My students were in the middle of a test and they're working so hard. And one of my students, I could see the frustration on his face, and he just mutters to himself, "All right, chat, help me out here." And I'm like, who talked to? I'm like, is this like our normal day speech now?
A chat is an acceptable gender neutral plural pronoun.
Apparently, I mean, that's just what I'm gonna start using every day in class. Like, hey chat, what's up?
Hey chat, what's going on? It's Miss Favorito here. We're here to learn some conjugation of verbs today.
Yeehaw. F in the chat for your grade. Like,
oh, I wish I work in customer service. I wish I could do that some days.
Listen, the things we wish we could say at work is a whole other interview.
And that would not be family friendly either. You're right. We
No. I'm a Boston gal through and through. So it would if there was a censor button, it would just be this stream on mute the entire time.
Yeah.
It would just be down. Yeah.
Definitely am with you on that. But yeah, I know Chad had mentioned this, but yes, there is a giant Clefairy squishable here. Clefairy will be
Yes.
running the interview for the next 30 seconds or so.
Yes.
Who's your favorite Pokemon?
I have a confession. I've never got into Pokemon.
That's fine. You are
Okay.
that is a morally acceptable answer. Like,
So my anime snob backstory
okay.
back in my day.
Back in my day.
So I was a Sailor Moon girly through and through. There was an extensive Sailor Moon collection out in my living room. But I felt like I grew up on fan subs.
Okay, yeah.
And so is it morally acceptable? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, you know,
And so
people are allowed to not.
fan subs were so great because not only like did you get the translation, they would put in like cultural notes and things like
Mhm.
that. And so, you know, I grew up watching like Fushigi Yugi on fan sub, and then this thing called Pokemon popped up on TV, and I was like, that's so juvenile. Who is my favorite Senshi? Mercury through and through. Always and forever, Mizuno Emi-san rules my heart. You know, if you ever want to talk, we can talk manga, we can talk cartoon, we can talk Crystal, we can talk Sailor Mew, the musicals, like Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the live action version, like, hello. That's my jam. And so that is Neptune is also amazing. Just the whole like girl power, like having strong female role models growing up in the 90s was not always easy, especially like a lot of the female role models that we got were sort of tomboyish. And so as a femme presenting person who always really embraced that sort of like feminine side of myself, like I like wearing dresses, I like wearing makeup, you know, having these powerful figures who also were like very much in touch with that. Like even though Jupiter, like yeah, Jupiter's a tomboy, but Jupiter also has like these other qualities. It was really nice. So
Yeah.
did I have
Yeah.
a Sailor Moon birthday in 7th grade? Yes, I did. And I'm not ashamed of it.
You shouldn't
If I
be.
could, I mean, I'm turning 40 soon. Maybe my 40th birthday will be Sailor Moon thing.
I think
because why not?
I like that's one of the things I truly hate the most a lot of the times about the internet is that people think that you're not allowed to like stuff or not like stuff, right? That you're not allowed to have differing opinions. And like it's important to like stuff, right? I think it's super important like to not just be excited about stuff, but to be excited about the things that other people are excited about too. Like even if it's not for you, and it's okay that it's not for you, but you know, there are things I talk about that are exciting to me and not to other people. And there are things I'm sure that you talk about that are exciting to you and not to other people. And you know, the idea is that, you know, like you said, you don't have a favorite Pokemon, right? The only correct response to that is cool, right? Right, at the end of the day, it's not weird that you don't watch Pokemon. Yeah, so you're a bit of an anime snob. I get it. My first anime, I can tell you exactly what my first anime was because I was in college. I just got into college and I led a very sheltered life as a kid because my mom was, you know, very hyper protective and conservative, and I was right. I was trying to figure out who I was. Took about another decade after that. I figured out who I was. I figured out I was a girl. I did it. Go me. Right, but right, but you know, like in college, like I was never exposed to the LGBT community in any way. It was I graduated high school in 1998 for what it's worth. I'm 43. And so like I met like in the dorms. It was like the first gay man I ever met was in college. Like, you know, like a lot of the first experiences I had were in college because I was just like able to go and have them, right? I was able to be free enough to go and have them. And the very first anime I watched, we did it in one sitting, and I do not recommend this to anybody. Do not do this to yourself, chat. Please don't do this to yourself. It is a exceedingly stressful experience for your first anime in the year 1998 when you are in the process of figuring yourself out and doing a really bad job of it and not doing a great job at school because you don't have the focus to go to classes. Do not sit down and watch the I am selling this, Liz. Relax. I'm a commentator. I know what I'm doing. I'm selling. You're on the edge. Are you on the edge of your seat right now? Do I have you on the edge? Do I have you right there?
Say it. Say it.
I've done my job, and now you'll never. Now you'll never know. No, no, I did the entire run of the original Neon Genesis Evangelion in one sitting.
That
with,
was gonna be my guess. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to talk about traumatizing introductions to
Yes.
anime,
especially
the original Evangelion. Yeah.
especially when your brain is figuring out that you are not straight and you're not sure what
Mm.
flavor of not straight you are.
Mhm.
Where there was definitely a guy that I hung out with in college who was definitely hitting on me, and I did not know it at the time. I figured it out like years later and went, "Oh God, this guy was hitting on me," and it was just like the weirdest moment of my life up to that point. But like conceptually, it's just like it is just such a stressful watch, just watching the decline, the mental decline of all of the characters, and just
Mhm.
the ever rising strain of the thread that runs through the entire storyline. While it looks like just a standard monster of the week anime, and it does not play like it once you if you sit down and
No.
watch it all at the same time.
No, and the ending of that series, just like I needed a shower and a priest after.
It
Not
was
necessarily in that order.
yeah. I just needed out at that point. Like I was good.
Yeah.
I had right like like art as reflection of self is a very frightening thing.
Mhm.
But yeah,
But
it was
that's one of the great things about games
yeah.
is that
Yeah.
is that they allow you to explore these different aspects of yourself, and oftentimes in a very safe way. I run a D&D club. I started it for middle schoolers and transitioned into the high school, and it's great, like seeing kids get to explore these different aspects of themselves in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Where you can sort of figure out, like, who am I? Like, how do I feel about gender, about sexuality, about relationships with other people? That's like one of the great things about games, is that it allows you to have these conversations, and just like meet so many amazing people. So
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be here now if it weren't for it, right? Like it's this shared language at the end of the day, and that also helps with the kind of the concept of safety. If you find a good group of people who are open-minded, it's it's a really big deal, and games can really help bring disparate people together, and right, just help them bring each other up, right? Like I feel like that's kind of the goal of the Valkyries marathons is right. We're here to kind of bring everybody together for a little while, and bring everybody up, and obviously help a great cause, because as causes go, take this as up there, right?
I mean, it's not bad.
It's pretty it's pretty okay, right?
It's
Like
pretty okay. That's our new tagline. Take this. It's pretty okay.
we're take this. We're pretty all right, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, like, and it's just the ability that I mean, obviously we're a small group, and y'all have a lot more reach than we do to like reach out and right, continue that mission of right mental health in games. The big part of mental health is bringing people together, and making sure that the conversations about mental health are not stigmatizing, right? It's very funny. I was talking about Leggy about this last night. I was talking about the band Blue October, which is Justin Furstenberg, who is the lead singer of that band in particular, did such a great deal of work in pulling from this idea of we're not just really another 2000s emo band. I really actually went through it for years, and he is actually very open about talking about mental health as well, and his own struggles with his own anxieties and his own mental issues, which is just it's just such a it's really good to see all of these things that are helping bring mental health to the forefront, especially after the pandemic, and especially after everything from like the mundane day-to-day stresses to, oh God, the world just shattered in March of 2020, but nothing else of import happened that month.
To call back,
Yes.
my colleague Dr. B said in his interview yesterday, like, thank you, pandemic. Like, it's the only time where we would ever think the pandemic for anything, but it really opened up this conversation about mental health and self-care and being aware. And no one ever wants to go through that ever again, but it really
Yeah.
has been like a major shift in society. Even just, seeing my own students and the things that they'll talk about in class, and just their own self-awareness of their emotions and feelings. I look back on when I was in their age in high school, and I'm like, this would never, never would we have talked about these things. Even as an adult, sometimes I struggle talking about, my own mental health issues because that just wasn't what we did. And now it's just everywhere, and it's so amazing, and we just need to make sure that people continue to do it. I don't want to say in a proper way, but in a
Yeah.
healthy way. Because, there is the good, but there is also the bad. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And one of the best things that anyone can ever do is speak up.
Mhm.
If you see someone say, I'm from Boston, the MBTA has a slogan, see something, say something. And for all that, if any of you are from the Boston area, you know how we feel about the MBTA. But it's a great slogan to live by. Like if you see something, like say something, speak up, speak out. So
See, I'm in Worcester now, but we lived in Boston for the last 3 years, and so see, my tagline for the MBTA is the MBTA. Hey, we're better than Washington D.C. Our trains aren't on fire today.
yeah. I'm probably legally not allowed to say my tagline for the MBTA.
family friendly,
Family
right?
friendly,
Yeah,
family friendly.
family friendly.
I live on there's a commuter rail stop outside my window. I have plenty of things to say to those drivers.
I was very glad when my job did not give me a hard time about working from home rather than having to go into the office an hour and a half away in the Seaport District.
There's
yeah.
no parking. There's no nothing.
Right. I mean, I'd take the commuter rail into South and then just walk the last, third of a mile to work. But
Over the bridge, because
over the bridge.
that's like the worst walk.
It's that during the summer, it's the best part of the walk though, over the bridge, because like it's the only place that you catch a breeze around South Station. Like it's 90 degrees and the sun's beating down, but at least there's a little bit of breeze off the river, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
During the
But
winter,
the
that's
rest of
like
the year, it is a
it's like
wind tunnel of
when
terror.
we went to PAX East. That was like there are pictures of me. I was in cosplay. I was in White Mage Regalia from Final Fantasy 14. And thankfully that was warm. Right, I was wearing like leggings and everything, and thankfully that was warm enough. But like crossing that bridge was just getting blasted by the sky for that stretch. It was awful.
It's yeah.
Yep.
Well, now we have May to look forward to. So slightly milder weather, as long as there's not a blizzard, because Boston.
Because Boston. Because sometimes the weather just doesn't know what it wants.
Sometimes you just have a blizzard in May. So
yeah. Not so much now, but global warming's, a thing. But yeah, I mean, I know from a personal level, I am very, very glad for everything that Take This does, in general here. So obviously, thank you so much. I think I need, anybody in chat, can you all give us a time check? I don't know what, my phone says 7:05. I don't know what the time window is at this point in time. 59.
I don't know what that means.
It means I think we've been talking for 59 minutes at this point. I think that we've been at it for about an hour at this point.
Been a while.
Yeah, storytelling takes time.
It does. And I'm a teacher. I could talk for days. So
I think people know me as a commentator for a bunch of randomizer communities, but I've been sort of inactive for the past year. But I do customer service for a living, so not only is it about telling stories, but it's about directing people, and it's about the fine art of making sure that they are both feeling heard but minimizing the amount of talking they do.
So what you're saying is it's an awful lot like teaching.
It is teaching is a large part of what I do every day. Yes, right.
Mhm.
Be it cross rep or to customers.
But it's being compassionate for other people. So
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's a very complicated thing. Certainly, it's a lot. People want to be heard. It's a big deal.
mhm.
So
And
yeah,
we are here to listen.
I am thinking that we are kind of getting down to like the last few minutes then, and we're getting into wrap up time here. Mostly because I know that we've got a marathon to run and
A couple other things on the
and
schedule.
a
It's
couple we can.
fine.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's fine and good and well and good and all of that, and so like I never like, you know, I'm not. None of us are stressed out about this. Marathon stress is very like, yeah, we're gonna have a talk about marathon stress when this marathon is over, I'm sure. So
And hey,
mhm,
we're here to listen if you need us.
absolutely. So is there anything else that you want to say?
This is, what we've been saying the entire time. I just really want to express my appreciation for the Valkyries and the entire community. Um, I remember when we first started talking about the budget and how we were afraid of what the end of the year was gonna look like. Like one of our first thoughts was like, what are we gonna tell the Valkyries? Like Speedrun Ragnarok is something that we all look forward to every year, and no one wants to have to be the ones to say like, we don't think it's gonna work out. But it's the support of the Valkyries and our whole community that has kept us going, has kept us fighting, and really sort of lit that fire under us to we're doing a lot of reevaluating, just sort of, who we are, what is our mission, and what is our main goal. And I think this is a great example of it. It's our main goal, our main drive is community, people who help us and who we can help in return. And the fact that year after year the Valkyries are there for us and willing to help us out, like it absolutely means the world. um the AFK program is not an easy program to run. I run the only program that loses money. And so trying to find those sources of funding and fundraising, it's hard. It keeps me up at night sometimes, but knowing that we have the community support, just it's what keeps me going every single day. I'm going down with this ship. The ship's not going down, but this is, I like teaching. I love my work with Take This. And being able to do things like this and just be there for people. So thank you. Thank you to the Valkyries. Thank you to the entire speedrun community for all of your support. So I think
Yeah,
that's my closing message.
thank you so much for that. I mean, it certainly means a lot to, continue to fundraise for Take This. And I know all of us here on the Valks are definitely hoping that the ship continues to sail into the far-flung future.
We're in early 2025. So
Yeah,
there's I'm a little superstitious. I'm gonna knock on wood. So
absolutely.
good things only. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for the time and the insight and the information and for your passion, and all of that means a great deal.
well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for taking this hosting gig last minute. I know you weren't expecting it. Hey, Natara, thank you everyone. Natara, I hope you're feeling better. So yeah, I'll stick around and chat for a little bit. I'm a granny. I wake up at 4 in the morning. So I'll
Yep.
be lurking, but I'll be enjoying the beats. So
Yep. I will be the host for said beats, but I do want to take a minute while setup happens for the next run. to run on downstairs and grab my dinner, which is most certainly
Yes.
arrived by now. And y'all are
I
gonna
should
get
hope
bright
so.
faced from my sub monitor here, but Citus Alpha is coming up next in a few minutes. I'm sure that there's going to be some setup that needs to happen. I'm sure that there's some stuff that's going to need to happen. But for me, for now, and for Liz from Take This, thank you all, and I hope that you spend a little bit more time with us when we come back. So bye for now.
Most definitely. Bye, everyone.